Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
All right, we are live streaming today. My name is Tom Dutta, and I'm the host of the Quiet Warrior Show. You can find that show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, this live feed. It'll be produced in the future as a YouTube premiere video and a international podcast. A special show. It's episode 3. We're calling it The Way of the Quiet Warrior Real News. That's REEL. You can see the stock ticker on the screen. Well, this is the behind-the-scenes look at the making of what we're calling an epic film, the Way of the Quiet Warrior. And I'm excited to have on the show today two amazing guys. First, Josh Menning. He's an award-winning director and the producer and owner of Menning Films. He's really the guy that's helping us bring this film together. And introducing Noel Bentley. Noel is a humor consultant and coach to the film. And today we're talking about humor. If you're in Canada, that's got a U in it. If you're not, well, forget about it. Guys, welcome to the Real News episode.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, great to be here, Tom.
All right. Now, a little bit more about Josh. Josh has done many films. Recently, Song of the Tree Frogs was released. These are award-winning films, everybody. And he's got quite a talent. I call him a young Spielberg behind the lens. And Noel Bentley. Noel Bentley was my TEDx speaking coach, and with particularly focusing on humor, which I didn't realize was a key part of any script. And Noel has had a varied career in coaching as well as teaching people how to use humor to better their lives, particularly in areas like mental health. He's also the MC of the upcoming virtual live event online, the TEDx Bear Creek Park, Surrey, British Columbia, and many, many other things this man does that inspire me. Well, today we're talking about humor, so I'm going to turn it over to you, gentlemen. Maybe we'll start with you, Josh. There's something you're trying to do with this film now to talk about the Way of the Quiet film, and really this whole thing about humor.
Sure. So, whenever we first started talking about it, I'm a huge fan of dark humor. So I thought, what a unique way to approach such kind of a deep subject, such a dramatic subject, and some scenes and whatnot. What if there was a turn on it that it was in a dark humor sense, so that it's, I guess, a little bit easier to stomach some of the scenes, some of the things that are going on. So as Noel and Tom began working together on the script about adding some of the dark humor, I was reading through it and I just love the direction that it's starting to go. And I thought maybe, let's possibly expand upon this. So that's where we're kind of at in the process. I'm going through and seeing how we can interject a little bit more of this dark humor. Again, just to kind of have a unique spin to, a heavy drama. And I think, again, being a huge fan of dark humor, it's just, that's some of my favorite writing and some of my favorite shows that, there's some times where you might not, or you shouldn't maybe be laughing, but, it helps kind of ease things. And I'm sure Noel can probably talk on that a little bit better than I can.
Well, yeah, let's do that. Over to you, Noel. Tell us why humor is important in the Way of a Quiet Warrior film, and maybe a little bit about the process that you really took me through to infuse that into the screenplay.
Well, thanks, Tom. For Way of the Quiet Warrior, we're expanding on what we did with your TED Talk. When you're dealing with incredibly difficult issues, humor becomes not just a tool, I think it becomes a necessity. It's really hard for people to carry the emotional weight of anything for, 2, 5, 10, 15 minutes, or even an entire film without having some sort of release. And humor provides that. But I think people often misunderstand what we mean when we say humor. Humor just doesn't mean mocking something or throwing in a joke. Humor is everywhere, and it's just your ability to uncover it, to see it, maybe emphasize it. And that's really what we're trying to do with the humor here. We're not trying to cram in a slapstick moment that doesn't belong, but there are moments there of genuine human joy, of absurdity. I mean, humor really shows what's absurd. So we have all these opportunities to allow people to have their emotions go up and down. You know, roller coasters are much better when they go up and down. If you go down and just crash, that's a terrible roller coaster and a terrible ride, and maybe not a great movie. So that's what we want to do with you, Tom. We want to show all those wonderful moments that you have.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what we're doing, for hearing this for the first time, the book, The Way of the Quiet Warrior, and the feature film, we're looking to film it in Canada and the U.S. I'm very excited about it. We're at the final end stages of a screenplay, and we brought in Noel to coach us and help us put humor into that script. Let me ask both you guys this: why, from a psychological point of view, I mean, if you're the audience, what do you want? What does humor do for somebody who's watching a film? Where Noel said, you want highs and lows, and one of the films I think about was the recent one, Rocket Man, by Elton John, where he's got many humorous, funny scenes in there, but there's some really dark stuff. If you don't have humor in a serious film, what can that do to set the film back? And when you add humor, as long as it's placed in the right place, and Noel, you can comment on that because you taught me that misplaced humor doesn't work. What does it actually do for me, the person watching the film, to have that done that way? Any of you guys? Josh, maybe you first.
Sure. Yeah. So, if things are, if it's a heavy piece, a heavy drama, it just a lot of times can just keep bringing people down and down and down to the point where they might even start to tune out of what they're seeing. And I think that's kind of almost like a natural response to drama or something traumatic is, you can get to the point where you become numb to it. So I think interjecting these humor points, there's these different emotions that are going on where you're able to kind of feel those heavy dramatic points and those heavy scenes and what's going on. However, this humor almost pulls you out of that, but then lets you dive down a little bit further. So each time we're, exactly as Noel's saying, like a whole roller coaster, you go up the biggest hill and then you come down, you go in loops and all around different turns. Well, if those turns and those loops aren't in there, you're just going downhill, and eventually you're just going to crash and hit the ground, and then you're numb. So, with this humor, it adds those twists, it adds those turns, even though, placed correctly, exactly what Noel is saying, not a slapstick, just something off the cuff that's doesn't even fit in there, but something that is blended well, that keeps the audience on the edge of their seats, and also being able to maybe dive down a little bit deeper the next dramatic point. Then again, bring them up at the next scene or the next time that we can to with the additional humor.
Yeah, Josh. Hey, Noel, remember when you were coaching me about my TED Talk? I was quite resistant to humor, and I think it's because I didn't understand. I thought putting humor in my talk, which was about lifting the stigma of mental health, was sort of mean or poking fun at it, and people might not be happy. And you said something about humor placed right. Give us an example and then explain to us what dark humor is. I'm assuming everybody knows what it is. You can use an example or just riff on it.
Oh, no problem. When you talk about placement, I mean, that is critical. What I think people often believe we're going to inject humor at a point of emotional gravitas, and we're going to pull the carpet out from under it. We're going to make fun of it. We're going to mock someone or their beliefs or whatever it might be. And that's not it at all. There is placement. There's times where you just back off. This is not the time for humor. And you just search for that next little moment where it is more appropriate. It's for yourself, like in your talk, when you talk about people also being resistant to it, I think we just have those preconceptions of what humor really is. And we're going through another TEDx Bear Creek Parks coaching session here, and it's true. Most everyone is resistant to it, but what we also notice that people are often resistant to using it because when humor fails, a lot of people, they feel like they failed. And the thing about humor is you have to be comfortable knowing that if you land at 50% of the time, you've done a great job. Your delivery and commitment to it really matters, and that's the great thing. Is if in a film we have the ability so that people can try it a few times and nail it and just live it. It makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. And when does humor not work? Give me an example, if you can, of when you've seen it not work.
Oh, I have a whole life to pull from for that. Because as you start using humor, you realize you probably hit 5 or 10%. Not realizing what's happening with emotions, or not realizing what's happening inside someone's mind when they're not prepped for it. So you really do, when you work a script, you go, okay, this is the time when we can do it. Not at this point in time. I tried explaining that to someone recently, and they were very resistant even to that concept. But yeah, when's the worst time? You don't want to shock someone at the point of a revelation in a movie. That's not the time to put in the bathroom humor. You don't have that moment at Gone with the Wind. Frank and my dear, I don't give a damn. And Clark Gable didn't fart. Like, it would have been funny, but we probably wouldn't be talking about the movie.
All right.
I don't know where it came from. But.
Okay, so you look at the film here, and two of us are laughing our heads off. So obviously we're pretty sick guys, and that's probably why we're making this film. So I'm gonna turn it over. Thank you, Noel, for that exciting. Anyway, turn it over to you, Josh. I want to put you on the spot and ask you about dark humor, and let's have some fun here. Give us a couple examples of characters or movie stars or films, things you've seen, and tell us why.
Well, I'm always a huge fan of The Office, and even though it's a TV show and it's a comedy, however, there's moments in there where there's not really good things going on, and for example, I know it's meant to be a comedy, but the scene where there's a fire in the office, or there's smoke, and everybody's running around hysterical, and Dwight is owns the office now, and he is trying to get people to evacuate. But times there, yes, it's a comedy, but obviously you could see that something is bad is happening with the fire, but just the way that everything is going on in that scene, it's chaos, and it's hilarious. But then if you think about this in real life, and you think about people being in an office and there's a fire, obviously it's not something funny. But the way that the show does different scenes like that, or different things whenever Michael says something about that's what she said, or whatever like that, there's little things here and there that I think people that don't get dark humor or don't like dark humor don't really think it's a good show, or can be put off by it. However, I think if done correctly, it could affect a lot of people. So as far as like other movies and everything, it's just trying to rack my brain through a couple of but
that's all right. I'll just jump in. I was telling both you fellas that the Anthony Bourdain, and we lost him too early, another superstar in the food industry or TV industry. I've been watching his stuff, and they've reproduced it, I think, on some of the streaming services, and one of the ones I've been watching recently, called The Layover. Man, the camera will turn to him, and he's putting out a couple lines, and I'm just peeing myself laughing, and then the camera goes back to the main action, and in between the scenes when he's walking, you'll hear this voice talking. It's really him, talking to himself, and I think that's a little bit of what we've been playing with how this might play out in the Quiet Warrior, or the Way of the Quiet Warrior film. I want to ask you one more question, and then we'll move to wrapping up here with you, and that is about the whole concept of this film. What does it mean to you to be involved with a production like this, now that you've seen the screenplay come together, and what do you think this film, or what's your vision of this film? What will it do in the world? I know I've talked a lot about it, but I want to get into your soul. So let's start with you, Josh.
Yeah. So as we're I've been in the mix with this with you, Tom, and understanding the story and the different events. So now we're at this stage where we're almost to the point where we can start prepping for this thing, and that's really exciting. And I'm sure it's really exciting for you as well, Tom. But just I think if everything is done correctly with this screenplay, because that's kind of like the Bible of the whole thing, and the story, then I think there could be a lot of people that could be positively affected by this, and reach out for change, and reach out for help that not necessarily might not be at that position where they feel comfortable at reaching out, and to seeking help, and to also kind of lift this veil over the whole stigma of what it is to be a business leader, what it is to be a CEO, and what it is to be these high level positions where you don't want to show people your weakness. However, that's not healthy, as we're starting to see more and more and more with mental health. So I feel like a film like this can definitely be that turning point, that somebody is maybe going through some issues, or maybe they're at the beginning point of their career and they're saying, well, I don't want to experience that. So maybe now's the time that I actually pay attention to my mental health, and to seek help, and not be prideful and arrogant, and not think that if I'm showing weakness, then I'm a wimp, and that's not going to get me to the next level. So I think there's a lot of opportunity that people can really change their lives and change their mindset altogether.
That's just awesome. Hey, Noel, I was thinking about the whole humor aspect too, and one of the things I find it easy talking about some of the social issues, the threads in the screenplay. I find it easier personally when it's infused with humor, even talking about it. And I think one of the things you're bringing to us is a gift that we didn't see before. But what's your answer to that question?
Well, it was quite a thrill to be able to be part of the TEDx coaching. That was sort of the springboard for this, because then I got paired with you, Tom, for obvious reasons. I don't know if I told you this, but about 2 or 3 weeks before the coaches were paired up with speakers, I gave a talk, and my talk was I just had to get it out of my system. And people realize that although we can't walk the exact same path, we're definitely in the same dark forest. There's no doubt about it. It's like look over, hey Tom, when the light was on, it's like, you too, yeah, me too. So we've got these challenges, and I just was so tired of, like you said, as Josh said, there's a veil, there's darkness. People aren't talking about it enough. The dialogue, the public discourse is only just starting. So one thing that we know is humor can help make things more palatable, because we allow people to put down the emotional weight for a while and then pick it up. I mean, there's this kind of stereotype about a lot of comedians have their own challenges, and humor is the way they deal with it. And you get those links together, and you think about people like Robin Williams, obviously spring to mind. And for me, it's personally meaningful to just to be able to have this freedom to just say, what, I'm tired of not talking about this. And I think we all need to talk about this. And when you do, all of us, when you do come and let people know what's happening, it's amazing who also opens up to you, and you realize that you are doing something not just for yourself, you're actually doing it for everyone.
That's amazing, Noel. And then you're having the opportunity to bring that as a gift through this film to the world. And we look forward to seeing you on the set, and being involved as much as Josh needs us. I want to just say to everybody else that I'm teasing you, because I don't want to put out everything about the film. But this will be a film that I've said will be epic, meaning it'll touch threads across the globe, and it'll be a legacy film. I think the whole thing of humor, guys, is that I remember things like they were yesterday. When it touches my heart, it touches emotion, and boom, humor is emotion. And to feel there are scenes in movies I've seen, guys, where I've cried, or I've laughed, or I've fallen on the floor howling with this dark humor stuff, where I can remember that for the rest of my life. And that's why this is an important topic. And so thanks for sharing your insights. Josh, I'm just going to ask you, there's a website. I know that there's going to be some adjustments to it, but if people want to get on the list to know more about The Way of the Quiet Warrior film, can you tell us what that website was again?
Yeah, so we have like a little landing page that gives a little bit of information and also opt-in form, and it's at menningfilms.com/Quiet Warrior. So there's just like I said, a brief overview of what's going on, and then a way that you can sign up for newsletters for updates as we're moving forward, continue on this year and into next year.
Oh, thank you, Josh. And by the way, everybody, when you go there, like I did, the first 2 times you try to log in, it says, sorry, wrong URL. And then finally it says, oh, we're just kidding. Josh has carried the dark humor even to the website. Yeah. No, I'm just making that up. All right, as we hey, there you go. We could have fun for a long time. Hey, guys, before I wrap this up, I want to say I'm honored to be part of this film, to be bringing part of my life story to the screen through your brilliance. And the other thing is that we have a Real News, Way of the Quiet Real News 4 coming up. I don't know when that'll be scheduled, but we're excited. And Josh will be with us making an announcement about a major step forward. We've partnered with somebody who's one of the greats in the music industry, who's writing the original song. And my spidey sense tells me that they're in the studio right now actually recording. This is big stuff for me. I'm so excited. But we'll be doing a episode on that as soon as we can reveal that. So Noel and Josh, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having you on, guys.
Yeah, great to be on, Tom.
Everybody, thanks for watching the Quiet Warrior Show, Real News, Episode 3. Please find the podcast and the YouTube premiere video soon across your favorite platforms of YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Stand by.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca